Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown. I'm your host, Josh Taylor, in tonight for Bob Pompiani. Got a lot to talk about for the week that was in Pittsburgh sports, including Pirates at the trade deadline, Steelers training camp, Dez Bryant being possibly a Pittsburgh Steeler. We have to ask the question, and we got to talk about it. But we will start with our #1 topic of the night, your Pittsburgh Pirates, with the trade deadline just less than 48 hours away. What moves could be made, what moves will be made, and where will the Pirates position themselves for a postseason run? We will talk about it with our panel from left to right on your screen. One half of the Cook and Pony Show on 93.7 The Fan, Andrew Fillipponi. In the middle, one half of the Fan Morning Show, Colin Dunlap from 93.7 The Fan. And on the far right, Trib columnist Tim Benz joins us on the show. Gentlemen, we will start with the Pirates. There's been a lot of discussion as to what the Pirates should do, what moves they should make, who should be added, how many people should be added, but we'll limit it to one name. Colin Dunlap, we'll start with you. One name that this roster should have by 4 o'clock Tuesday. Who should it be?
Chris Archer. I know that would step out of form from how they generally do business, but there's years of control. He's a guy that would slide in right now and be, at worst, they're one of their top 2 pitchers. He's a guy not just for this year. I'm vehemently against a rental, but he's a guy for years of control on out. I think his numbers would come down getting out of the AL East, and he's a guy that I think could really, really help them, and I think that they need a quality starter. Chris Archer's the guy. They won't get him. They won't be in on him, I don't think, but that's the guy that they should step out of the way they generally operate and get, Chris Archer.
I'll echo that. I'll go with Chris Archer, too. I thought that was a good idea, Colin, when I heard you bring it up on your morning show, and it's one that I echo. I think a lot of the sentiments that have been advanced about him not being the pitcher that he was a couple years ago, they're accurate, but then at the same time, I think there's something to be said for the strikeout ratio after what we saw in his start on the 22nd. I think there's something to be said there for the life that still exists in the arm. And listening to Neil Huntington speak today, it sounds like he still has regrets over not getting David Price at the deadline back in 2014, and he spoke at length about that today. I'm writing about it for the Trib tomorrow, and I think he might try to rectify that by going after another arm to get, in case they have to be in a wild card game and they don't feel good about their other starters. Maybe they go with Archer to match whoever that other ace pitcher is.
Yeah, ESPN just wrote today that the Rays want a first, like an ace return for Archer. So are you guys, I mean, even if you're saying, Colin, that you don't think they'll do that, you would be prepared to give that up?
I'd give Austin Meadows up, yes, absolutely.
Well, they would
I'd give Meadows, I'd give Baz up. I would give one of the 14 middle infielders that the Pirates have, yeah.
See, this is their big chip to play. They're going to want, just like the Padres and Brad Hand,
right,
they're going to want their best prospects. So if you're not going to talk about Mitch Keller or somebody in that stratosphere, you could forget.
Well, I think Austin Meadows is in that stratosphere.
Meadows is the one guy I'd keep.
No, he's not. Mitch Keller is looked at as a top 10, top 15 prospect in baseball. Austin Meadows is a 260 hitter at AAA. To me, one guy's a 5-star prospect. The other guy's more like a 3-star. I'm down on Archer because, frankly, he hasn't been a good pitcher for 2.5 years. And so you can give me spin rates, Tim, but the stats say otherwise. The guy's not been ace material since 2015, which is the same thing I would have said about Garrett Cole before this season.
So, like, that's the criterion for
No, if you're going to go out and get a guy, why not just say Jake DeGrom? I mean, if you're really in this to get a #1 starting pitcher, then go get someone that is. Archer, I don't know what you guys see in Archer. He has not been a good pitcher.
I see a guy that's strikeout.
Okay, so can they get DeGrom?
No, just hold on a second.
Okay.
Has he been a good pitcher since 2015?
Good
Objectively.
Good strikeout rate per 9 innings.
In one stat, strikeouts.
His strikeouts per 9 is like 11-1, 10-7, 9-1.
Well, so why isn't it generating or translating into results? Why?
Because he plays in the AL East for Tampa.
He pitches in a good pitcher's park.
Hey, Andrew, this was maybe crazy.
Hold on, Colin. One more thing. How does it work for Blake Snell and not him?
Andrew, this might be crazy.
It doesn't hurt Snell.
This might be crazy, but he has to pitch against the Yankees and the Red Sox.
So does Blake Snell. What's his ERA?
Andrew, look, let me ask you this.
Go ahead.
Do you think that Chris Archer would walk in and make the Pirates better?
Yes, absolutely, 100%. He's better than Nick Kingham, so that's your 5th starter. He is better than that. But I'm talking about what you have to pay to get a guy like that.
This conversation's a non-starter if you think that Chris Archer would be the Pirates' 5th starter.
No,
it's a non-starter.
That's not what you asked.
But that's not what Josh asked either, because we haven't heard from you yet who they would get.
I said DeGrom.
So you said, can they get him?
I said if you're willing to, if you're going to have to give up a huge package to get a starting pitcher, why in years of control, why wouldn't you go after the best one? Why not?
Because the Mets might be less inclined to give up DeGrom than the Rays are to give up Archer.
And the salaries are different too, Andrew.
You get it for 3 years.
Archer's not making all that much money.
Okay, I'm just looking at a guy that has not pitched well since 2015.
Man, you hate Chris Archer.
No,
Colin, you're on him.
Colin, it's called looking at what he's done on the field as a pitcher since 2015, and it hasn't been good.
You got something against this guy, Andrew.
Has he been good?
You hate him.
Has he been good?
Yes, he's been
good. Okay. His ERA's 4.33. He's outstanding.
You hate this guy.
No, I don't. See, you don't need to try to label me as a Chris Archer hater. All I'm saying is,
well, so the other teams that are in it are nuts. That Chris Archer
if they're going to give up their top prospects to get him, I think that they are paying a
what
high
would you
price.
thought if were comparable to Haps this year?
Do you think it's going to take as much to get J Happ? He's a rental for 2 months.
No, but
Tim,
forget about it. We're not talking about the return. We're talking about who the pitcher is and how good they are. Because you say Archer stinks, but some of the numbers,
no, I did not.
No, you just told us he's been not good for 2 years. You said he hasn't been good since 2015.
Yes, that's
just
right.
to be clear.
So some of his numbers this year were comparable to what Haps were.
Right.
Should the Pirates have been in a Happ or not?
Do you think the cost of J Happ is the same as Chris Archer?
Do you want to see Nick Kingham pitch in big games,
No,
Andrew?
I want them to go get out. See,
That's
I don't know
where
We're vacillating between is the player good or is the return worth it? Which one should we debate?
We can have both conversations.
Let's switch
I think
to
we
this
have.
conversation. Let's go to this one because there had been talks about the Pirates talking with the Baltimore Orioles about maybe Kevin Gausman. Obviously, maybe we're shooting a little bit too high as far as guys that could be out there and available. What is your asking price? What is your absolute maximum return you're willing to give, Tim Benz? As far as guys the Pirates could give up, what would be your maximum price that you'd be willing to surrender?
Unlike what we just heard about Meadows, I'm higher on Meadows. I think that he could be a 300 hitter in the NL. I think that Austin Meadows does have a future, and I think he's, in their eyes, a starting outfielder next year because they're not going to want to keep Corey Dickerson. I'm more about what's going to keep this team good for consecutive years in a row than I am all the long-term planning stuff. I give away the Seinfeld kids in the middle of the infield. I'd rather give away one of their last 2 picks or Craig.
So would I.
I'm not as worried about the prospects down the road for a team that has emerged as a potential wild card contender here after falling off from a window that we thought was already closed. So I'd say get help now for some of those guys. The 2 guys that they have that potentially could be shortstops or second baseman, and I say, put Keller into the mix. I'm less concerned about that than I am the guy who's going to be your starting left fielder in all likelihood next year.
I just don't want to subtract from the major league team.
Or get Chris Archer.
So when you ask that question, Josh, about what you'd be willing to give up.
What's your maximum price?
Everybody in my minor league system is open for negotiation. There's no untouchables off the major league team. Off the minor league team. If I'm trying to get to the playoffs in 2018, I don't want to break up the team that I have on the field right now, but I'm willing to dip into my pool of prospects, which is something they've only done when making a salary dump trade like Francisco Liriano to Toronto.
Colin, your max price?
Same thing. And Andrew, the other one was Robbie Grossman, I think, to get Wandy. But you're right. You're absolutely right about that. And I'm with Andrew 1,000%. Nobody's off limits.
Well, when an owner puts together the perfect team, they know it will be a winner. That's how it must be with Rob Cochran, and that's how he feels about number 1 Cochran Nissan. Number 1 Cochran just acquired Pittsburgh East Nissan and West Hills Nissan, giving them 3 local Nissan stores in Pittsburgh's first ever Nissan Super Group. The Triple Grand Opening event is going on now with 3 times the pricing power and 3 times the inventory. Number 1 Cochran Nissan, Monroeville, West Hills, and South Hills. Talking Steelers in training camp when we come back.
The number 1 Cochran Sports Showdown is brought to you by number 1 Cochran, Go One Better, and by Highmark Blue Cross Blue Shield. Have a greater hand in your health.